Hey guys, Phil from Trail Talk here, and I thought it was time to do something a little bit different this week, so let's do a bit of a Q&A. So I know you're probably sick of me talking at home, just sitting here, so let's go to the trails and answer some of your questions. Okay, enough of that stuff. Let's answer the first question. Okay, so the first question comes from Wilso304. I think that was on Instagram. And he said, what's your favorite place to ride and what type of riding is your favorite? So, favorite place to ride, do love the northern beaches. It's kind of where I ride most of the time, and my local trails down here in northwest Sydney. But my favorite trail is definitely at Derby. Trouty was awesome. Then probably over in Queenstown in New Zealand. Really enjoyed it over there. And then kind of a bit different one at Mount Gladstone Gladiator, the blue kind of flow descent there. Absolutely awesome. If you're going down to the Snowy Mountains, definitely recommend checking that one out. And yeah, it's probably enjoyed it almost more than Threadbow. So yeah, it's definitely an awesome trail, so check it out. Oh yeah, and the second part of that question was what type of riding is my favorite. So I definitely prefer to climb for my descents, but in terms of the descents, I prefer kind of like blue flowy with like black tech stuff in between, so like no crazy jumps but some nice techie features in there. Anything kind of like double black and stuff like that, kind of it's more like hanging on rather than for the fun of it. So yeah, alright, too easy. We'll see you at the top of the trail and I'll answer some more questions there. Okay, so at the top of the trail, so how handy are fanny packs, like honestly. But okay, so the next question's from Big Squalor, I think, and he asked, what allows me to ride and test so many bikes, featuring my reviews and stuff like that. So back in the day, I used to work at a bike shop, so that helped me test a lot of Merida and Norcos because we used to stock those. Then I got in a few relationships with a few other companies like Common Style and stuff like that, so I could review some of their bikes. And then now I work at a place that has Polygon and Marins, so I can test all their bikes. And then I have a few friends that have had different bikes that have been able to test and review as well. So just getting to know people, getting out there, demoing a lot of bikes, that's definitely the way to do it. Okay, so let's head down the trail and then I'll answer a few more questions then. So this one's from Jay Morrow and he asks, is Fox better than RockShox? Not really, like they're both pretty comparable. I think RockShox used to get a bad name because they did a lot more of lower end OEM stuff, so like the Recon and stuff like that. But now, if you look at all the reviews comparing like the Lyric RC2 to like the Grip 2, the Lyric RC2 comes out on top a lot of the time. So they're both pretty comparable in terms of what you get like in the higher end stuff. Like obviously RockShox has more lower end stuff, but yeah, they're both pretty much comparable. Just go model to model and see which one you prefer. And he also asks, is it worth spending 10k on a bike unless you're a professional? Definitely not. Like, I wouldn't spend probably more than 4k on a bike if it was my money. I didn't get any discounts or anything like that. I mean, at that point, you're really getting diminishing returns. It's probably like 90% of the bike that they're really higher end stuff. Main thing you're getting is a little bit lighter stuff and maybe a bit more adjustability on the suspension, but realistically, most of the time, mechanism's the same, it's just a bit lighter, or you've got more adjustability in the suspension. And for most of us, we're probably not going to use it. So yeah, I think like 4k is probably that golden zone. That's in Australian dollars, so probably like 3k, 3.5 US. Good run. Always love that trail. That pinch at the end always gets me. So Josh Phillips asks, if I had a Rift Zone, probably the 2020 model, so a new one, would I get an Alpine Trail, so what I have now, or a San Quentin, so the aggressive hardtail to complement it? I'd probably just have the Rift Zone. I'd probably put a 130, a 144 cut front, then probably long stroke the shock, so give it around about 135mm travel, think you can do it. I haven't tested it yet, but that'd be what I did, make it a little bit more aggressive. And the geometry's slightly longer, so the reach is longer than the Alpine Trail. So you got a 480 reach versus 465 on that. Then you've also got the same head angle, so 65.5. I think it's the same, like 65, but anyway, pretty much the same. So in the rough sections, like you might have a little bit less rear travel, but the geometry should get you through most of the time. So yeah, I'd probably just get a rift zone and kind of beef it up a little bit. Okay, so at the top of the next descent, so answer another question. So Orlando Sadlick, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I met him before. He says, is it bad to jump from a rock to the middle of a rock garden in an attempt to clear it? Well, I've got a good rock garden halfway down, so we'll head down there and I'll show you what I mean down there. Okay, so we're at a rock garden, and it might not be the craziest rock garden, but it explains it pretty well. So we'll walk down it. So you've got a little rock here, you can gap over there. So with a rock garden, you want the smoothest, straightest line that you can. It's got to be the fastest. So if we can gap this, come down here, gap over here, then we'll hit the straightest line down here. So hug that inside down there. That's smooth, pretty damn straight. So show you guys that now, and that's probably going to be the fastest way or the smoothest way down here. So it's okay to gap in the middle of a rock garden if it's going to be the smoothest, fastest. But you'll find with a lot more beginner riders, not saying I'm good or anything, but they'll kind of pick and choose their way slowly down a rock garden, just looking at each rock. But the aim is to kind of keep your head up and look and try and find that smoothest line. So keep your head up and just pin it down, be the smoothest way. So we'll give it a go now. Okay, so I hope that answered your questions. Yeah, so just keep your head up, gap anything that's going to slow you down. Once you get the confidence up, it's going to be a bit easier to gap that kind of stuff. And yeah, just follow that straightest, smoothest line down. Anything that's probably going to be the straightest, again, it's going to be inside, outside lines, and it will depend on the exit that's going to be the fastest. But yeah, just keep your head up, that's probably the main thing, and just kind of see those features that you can kind of just pre-hop over. That's definitely a rare recommendation. Again, not a coach, not the fastest, but that's definitely what I do. Okay, so we just finished the end of the trail, and then we'll head home and answer some questions. Okay, so a few final questions. So the first one coming from Brett Naylor. He asks, I hear the Joey mountain bike podcast with Paul the Punter and the Crashing Dad need a replacement for daily mountain bike rider. Any chance that I would throw my hat in the ring? I don't think I'm quite big enough to be on their level to be part of that podcast yet, and probably time zones would kind of mess that up. But yeah, I don't know where daily mountain bike rider is. He hasn't posted in a while, so don't know what's going on there. The next one, Macca79 asks, Norco Fluid FS2 or Marin Rift Zone 2? So both bikes that I've ridden. I'm a huge fan of the Rift Zone. I just think the Geo is slightly better, and a little bit extra rear travel on that bike definitely lends to the geometry a bit better. These trail bikes are getting a bit longer, a bit more aggressive, and a little bit extra rear travel definitely helps. These bikes get to a point where you're going so fast, and then the rear travel just can't keep up, and just because that Rift Zone has a little bit more and it's slightly longer in the reach and slacker head angle, just think it's a slightly better bike. Okay, so let's smash through some bike questions. So Lee Marsh asks, is it worth paying the extra money for the Trance 2 or the Trance 3 29er 2020 models? I just go whatever has the best spec for the money. The frame's the same, so just go whichever bike has the better spec for the money, and if you're paying an extra $100 or $200, then just go the better spec bikes. Mitchell Bloxham asks, Vitus Mythic, VRX, Marin Rift Zone 2 or Hawk Hill 2. All really good bikes. I tend to prefer 29ers on this kind of range in terms of travel and what kind of style of bike they are, so probably the Mythic VRX or the Rift Zone. I like the G on the Mythic, and the spec's really good for the money. I just think the frame probably lets it down a little bit. Just looking at the frame, the pivots just don't look as good quality as say what's on the Marin. Marin's slightly longer and slightly more aggressive. However, you do get a really good fork on the VRX, so that's something to take into consideration, but I'd go the better frame, so that Marin Rift Zone 2 would probably be my pick. Marty Richards, Octodad, good name. He asks, Marin Alpine Trail 7 or Kona Process 153. Both are around 3,000 New Zealand dollars for trail centre, flowy trails, and uplift and park day. The odd uplift and park days. Considering if it's mostly trail centre and flow trails, I might even look at something that's got slightly less travel, so something maybe 130, 140. But if it's mostly just climb up to the top and descend, then both those bikes will do well. I can't really comment on the process. I haven't ridden one, but I've ridden my Alpine Trail 7 a lot, and it's definitely really fun. It's not too long, so it's still pretty flickable, but the rear suspensions might not be as poppy as, say, a shorter travel bike, but it's definitely a really good bike, and it's definitely going to lend well if you're just climbing for your descents. So still pretty damn playful, and you can really push it through the corners, so not missing out too much having the extra travel there. So I like the Alpine Trail 7, but I can't really comment because I haven't ridden the process yet. So Mitchell Bloxham asks, how does the Bomber Z2 compare with other forks around the same price range? I think that is probably the best value fork for trail riding on the market at the moment. In terms of what you're getting, the damper is really good, actually better than the grip damper that a lot of people are saying. And you get stiffness is a little bit stiffer than a 34mm stanchion Fox fork, so that's good too. And it's not a little bit heavy, but who cares? But yeah, it's a really good fork. So they're really cheap OEM too. So if a bike comes with this, then you're really not really missing out, and they're actually making the price lower. So definitely a great fork. Elijah Spanker on Instagram asks, what's your thought on the Rain 29er 2? Just picked one up. Haven't ridden one extensively, but I sat on one and pedaled it around a little bit the other day, and it actually felt pretty damn good. Yeah, the rear suspension feels really efficient, and when I was taking it for a bit of a squish, yeah, it felt pretty damn good, so I'd be pretty damn stoked with that. And the G looks pretty damn dialed too, so might not have the most rear travel compared to a lot of other enduro bikes, but makes it a bit more efficient, and then it's got longer geometry, so that should handle everything really well. So I really like that bike. It's pretty long, but it didn't feel like it was too long like a bus that I couldn't move it around. So yeah, pretty damn good bike. Brett95 asks, where's the best place around Sydney to learn drops and jumps? I'm actually having a chat to someone on the trail about this, and the drops, there's plenty of drops around, so anywhere in the northern beaches there's plenty of drops that you can kind of do that kind of stuff, but there's no real place to really progress on jumps really well. There's places like Old Man's Valley and all the dirt jumps to like Red Hill and stuff like that, but they're more kind of like dirt jumps, so they're really peaky lips. There's nowhere really that has good trail specific jumps that you can learn on, so it's something that we definitely need to really improve on locally. But yeah, can't really give anything on jumps, but yeah, anywhere around the northern beaches really good for drops, and if you go up to Rimba and stuff like that, there's a few drops that you can learn on too. Sorry, I can't make much help, but it's not too many good jumping learning places around. I know Trailshare does a jump clinic, so they've got some few jumps that you can do there, so it's definitely something worth checking out, and if you wanted to learn how to jump. But yeah, nothing too good out there that I can really recommend. Andrew31 asks, what do I think about canyons? I actually really like canyons. They're great value for money. I would have liked if they're probably a little bit more progressive in terms of their geometry. I know when the Strive came out, I was a little bit disappointed, especially with the shapeshifter. It was really a chance they could have made the seat angle a lot steeper. So in that climbing position, maybe have it like 77, and then when you slacken it out for like the enduro, you get maybe like 75.5. But now it's like 75 to 73.5 in the enduro position, and that kind of is a bit too slack, especially for climbing on these kind of bikes. So would prefer if they're a little bit more progressive in terms of their geometry, but what you get for the money is really great with canyons. And the last question comes from Jackson Traces. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, I'll put the writing there. And he says, thoughts on what all mountain frame to get. So if we're just talking about frame onlys, I mean, if you were looking at which bike to get, then definitely check out the all mountain buyers guide. But if you're just looking specifically for a frame, then the best all mountain frame out there would definitely be the Ripmo AF. And then I'd also check out a few of the new ones from Banshee. They've got some really new nice frames. I think it's could be the Phantom or something like that. It's like a 135mm travel. Could be wrong. I'll put a photo of it up here and correct myself. But yeah, I definitely think those two frames are really good value for money. And also the Bird AM9 that I used to have, that was a really good all mountain frame. So if you're looking for a frame, those would definitely be the ones to pick. And I think they all come in raw frames, which is pretty damn cool too. So that's all the questions. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See ya.